Building self-esteem comes from letting go. You have a black woman who recently said this. Um, I feel good. I'm. What did she say? She said I'm confident in my, features, my big lips and my big butt and this and that. I feel good about that. I feel, I'm confident in those features. And I'm like, that's fine to be confident in your body. But what about the features that people don't appreciate? Like, big lips and big behinds are things that other people appreciate. So sometimes it's easier to kind of find some pride in things that people have told you are nice. But what about things that aren't nice about yourself? You know, those things that you may not even really like. You have to even love those things. Like, how do you get to that point where you can love the things that other people don't love about you? And I've come to find that you can't identify with anything. All the labels that we put on ourselves is causing us more separation.
I think being in groups and identifying with groups and labeling ourselves is doing us more harm than it is good. I know we like to align ourselves with people who are like minded and that sort of thing, which, there's nothing wrong with that. But once we have a conflict within that group and then we decide that we need to create a subgroup, well, instead of doing that, we can just all be. I'm not saying don't organize and things like that, but when we put labels on ourselves, it kind of is restrictive because when that label is gone or it's no longer useful, then we have an identity crisis almost that is kind of unnecessary because if we're always who we are, then there's no reason to not know who you are. There's no reason to look. I think a lot of people are looking for who they are because they never knew who they are. They knew what the group was, but they never knew who they were. So I really, I, I think groups are bad. And also I think we need to detach from groups, labels, and ourself, because ourself is what is identifying with these things, because as a human, that's what we want. We want to be in a group with people who are like us, who are similar, that is comfortable for us. But once we detach from self, then we no longer have that need. So instead of self-esteem, I should really be calling it esteem. Esteem is more present. Esteem is more in the now. It's not attached and restricted by the self, the body, who has, you know, this 5'8" body, who has nappy hair. That is restrictive because a lot of people will automatically categorize me and say that I shouldn't be able to dye my hair or things like that when they see a natural person who doesn't wear makeup or doesn't have natural or has natural hair. They'll say, "Oh, why do you have chemicals in your hair? You're no longer natural." So now I have to create another group on top of the natural label. So instead of just saying I'm just who I am, I don't identify with those things anymore, and that builds your self-esteem. Well, actually, I should say that builds your esteem. We shouldn't be worrying about self-esteem anymore.
There's some gurus or people who are, highly spiritual people, and they teach how to connect to the source, how to let go of the attachments, and not only the attachments of others, but your attachment of yourself, all of your how you identify yourself, male, female, you know, African American, or European or all of these things. Now, I'm not saying you oh, there's a bird that just landed. I used to be afraid of birds. I appreciate them more now. I had a bird attack me once. But how to really step out and identify with different cultures and things. We want to be around people who are similar to us, so we have to create these labels so that we can fit into the right, or it'll make things easier for us to find those that are similar and that have the same interests and those that we possibly would connect with or have fun with. But if you do that all the time, you are limiting yourself and you're connecting too much you're attaching to yourself too much. And being attaching to yourself causes people to, when they're no longer able to use that thing, whatever it is. Like, for instance, my hands. I don't know if anybody cares about my hands, but I like my hands. That's one feature that I, really like about the body that I'm in. Not the only one, but it's one of them. Yeah, if it were to be taken away from me in this lifetime, what would I do? How would I be able to cope? And I hope that I would be able to cope very well. There is nothing that I have that I'm going to put so much pride into, or there's nothing that I can do that I can put so much pride into that when it's taken away that I lose all sense of purpose. So building self-esteem comes from letting go. And a lot of things in life come from letting go, and I'm learning that too. But there you have it. One other thing before I wrap this up, I'm talking a lot about myself, sorry about that, but I have very acne prone skin, and that's something that since I started puberty, I hated about myself. And I do all the things that people say you should do. Eat well, drink a lot of water, use these products, whatever people say I do. And there was times where I was able to turn it around, but then I would have another breakout, and I come to the point where I have so many marks that because I don't wear makeup, so it's very apparent when people look at me. Sometimes people will test to see if that is something that you have insecurity about. So if you do have an insecurity about that, you could automatically react. But I learned that I was able to recognize that I no longer hold that insecurity. I no longer give that previous insecurity, any value. When someone can say something and I don't get all clammy and defensive and feel the need to explain. So and it's because I've detached from it, because I know I've done all that I can do. I know that I'm a clean person. I know that I eat well most of the time. So I was given this plight in life, if you want to call it that. It's not really that big of a deal, but for some people it could be that much of a hindrance to them, but to me it's not. So that's just one example, and you can probably, I love my hands, and I had an issue with my skin. So these are two different things that I both let go of. I let go of what people say I should like and what people say I shouldn't like, and I just experienced it. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to take care of my skin. It doesn't mean I'm just gonna go weeks without washing my face, or even a day without washing my face. That doesn't mean that I'm going to bring harm to my hands because I let go of it. No, I will take care of what I was given, but I'm not going to give it so much energy and pride and, you know, energy. Basically, it's all about energy transfer. So my energy is going to be within, and hopefully it will pour without when people see me, but I'm not going to feel that I have to appreciate particular features, because if I do, then that means I'm going to have to hate particular features. And I just want to be happy with myself, and but also detached from myself. So having an identity, but knowing that that identity is just temporary, it's just it doesn't really mean that much. So that's my take on it. And as always, I hope I wasn't all over the place, but I appreciate you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye. My purpose will still be to experience and to just to be.